Okay. One Piece chapter 1082. I am interested once again. So Sabo is back. Huge for the story. However, the impact that Buggy and Cross Guild are having on the pirate world, it's one of those things where I love what Oda's doing here. Like, I love the messaging of what Oda's doing because, like, One Piece is always kind of colored in that gray area. And this is one of those things where, as you're watching everything unfold, it quickly becomes clear that, like, the good guys aren't necessarily good guys and the bad guys aren't the bad guys. And sometimes you can see how normal people can walk that line into falling into some stuff that they probably wouldn't have done under normal circumstances. And basically, because of what Cross Guild has done, offering up bounties on Navy officers and commanders and etc., it becomes one of those things where normal people that are in poverty, that are suffering, they will cross moral lines that they might not have actually thought about doing. And that's exactly what happens. Like, we have a vice admiral that has been taken down, and they've been taken down because the guy that took him out, his family was starving, and it led him to actually joining Cross Guild because he wants to continue to provide for his family. Like, I like what you see here. Like, this is showing that, like, at the end of the day, like, we're all just one mistake away from being considered a villain. But what necessarily is a villain? Things are not black and white. And so I do like that Oda is kind of continuing to show that right there. And I like how, as you see the different people that are talking that belong with the Marines, they're talking about everything going on and like how we caught the person that's behind this. It then transitions over to them getting the information that, like, Garp has actually gone off to try and save Kobe. And so you do see some of that. However, what I like is that after we get that big reveal, and after we see Buggy basically bring in the guy that killed that vice admiral, we get the reveal of Buggy's ship, and, like, you got Crocodile and you got Mihawk, and both of them like, oh my god, you want us to ride on this thing? And, like, the ship is so goofy, it reminds me of the Going Merry because you got that big old goat slash sheep head on top of it, and it just stood out. It looked wonky, it looked funny. And it's a similar thing here. Buggy's ship definitely is something that you ain't gonna miss it when you see it. But at the same time, though, what I like is that after you get that comedy aspect, like, Oda transitions from hitting you with the heavy hand at the beginning of the chapter, then hitting you with the soft hand with the comedy that you're getting, and now you're getting the heavy end. And, like, Buggy's character is starting to get some layers to it because you have a moment where Buggy, he's been strung up because, you know, Buggy getting bitched out by Crocodile and Mihawk, like, that's a running gag. They talk about essentially how the reception to Cross Guild and what it is they're trying to do has been positive with the public. And what you see here is that they talk about what their idea for a utopia is, where they build a military nation that is strong enough to resist any power. And you have a moment where, as they start talking about the different things that they're going to need, Buggy begins to start reflecting. And Buggy basically has a moment where, as he's reflecting, he's thinking back to what happened 24 years ago when Roger died. And essentially, he's like, look, Shanks had so much promise ahead of him. He had so much potential. And we find out that Roger wanted Shanks to follow in his footsteps. So, like, Shanks is a really, really big deal. Like, we knew that. But, like, having Roger himself say, like, yo, like, you got next, that's huge. That is a very, very big passing of the torch. And it's kind of setting the stage for Luffy because at the end of the day, like, if Roger passed the torch to Shanks and Shanks gave Luffy that hat, that's kind of him setting the stage to eventually pass the torch to Luffy. Well, what we see here is that when Shanks is basically like, look, like, you can come work with me, join my crew. I'm still going to be a pirate, but I'm not going to go after the One Piece right now. It's one of those things where, like, Shanks is finally making his move after all this time. And the fact that, like, he and Buggy, they knew how to get to certain parts of the Grand Line. They basically went everywhere except for on that last island. For Shanks to have waited so long before actually setting sail, it's one of those things where Shanks knows something else. He knows something bigger. And with Buggy, when Buggy is reflecting on all this, he doesn't focus on that so much as he focuses on the fact that Shanks has this goal to want to be the king of the pirates. And so he says, I want to be king of the pirates as well, whether it be by fate, whether it be by accident. I'm on the same level as him now. And like, I like how Crocodile and Mihawk are like, dude, like titles are a MFer right now. Like, he's really let that title go to his head because they know like he's nowhere near on the level of Shanks. He just happens to have the title because that running gag that's going on where like Buggy might very well get called King of the Pirates at the end of the story and never actually earned it. Well, what we see here is that Buggy's like, we don't have to take on the Straw Hats and we don't have to take on the red hair pirates at the same time. We don't have to take on Blackbeard. We just got to beat them to a punch because whoever gets to the One Piece first is the one that's actually going to collect it. And what I like here is that when some of Buggy's men are asking about like, hey, like, why'd you set out to sail? Buggy's like, we're going to take the One Piece. And you see Crocodile and Mihawk, both of them just look absolutely livid. They look pissed because they got their own goals. And it's one of those things where like they're in it now, so they have to support Buggy. And we transition over where you see the revolutionaries are gathered at sea. They see the ship coming. They're completely on guard. Makes total sense. They don't know if this is like a government ship. They don't know if these are pirates. They don't know if it's aliens. Like, it's just one of those things where they're on guard. They're waiting to see. And when Sabo ends up showing up, Sabo's like, hey, you know, I got people here with me from the island that just vanished, Lulusia, and he's like, I need to make sure that they're taken care of. I'll explain everything later. And as Sabo gets his meeting with Ivankov and with Dragon, it's just the three of them. And we get a moment where Sabo's like, look, I'm going to tell you everything that actually happened, but it's better that nobody else knows what took place because they will put themselves into danger. And so we're now about to start getting some of the sauce. Because like at the end of the day, like Sabo was accused of killing Cobra and Nefertiti. And so that is a huge crime, that's a huge offense. And as we know with the world government, it's one of those things where they have no problem painting false narratives in order to accomplish their goals. So it's going to be very important to see, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Sabo is able to tell us the truth and what this does. Because to basically be talking to Ivankov, someone who was in Impel Down for years on end, and to be talking to Dragon, the leader of the revolutionary, the guy that knows the truth of what took place at O'Hara, is one of those things where those two being in the same room as him, as he begins to start explaining what actually happened, Sabo saw some shit. Sabo saw some shit, and this is going to be one of those like series shifting conversations. I can feel this in my bones, and that's actually my chapter question, you guys. How do you guys feel about just the three of them being right there? Did you have a feeling that Oda was going for symbolism there? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.